Well, hello students, welcome back to mathematics class with me, Mr. Alfie. This particular video is a review for our final tests. I will not discuss all the matter in this video, but I will discuss some questions that I think needed to be discussed. Then let's get started. First, given factor p equal to this factor and factor q equal to this factor. If p equal to q, then find the magnitude of q. In order to find the magnitude of q, we have to find each component in factor q. Since factor p equal to factor q, that means this factor equal to this factor. Okay, so the x component in q equal to the x component in p. So factor q equal to 12 and 5 because this number equal to this number. After we find factor q, we can find the magnitude of q. The magnitude of q equal to square root of 12 square plus 5 square. So equal to square root of 169 equal to 13. Next, given factor a is a translation factor that translated KLMN to DUVW from this to this. Find the magnitude of a. First, we have to determine factor a. Factor a is a factor that translated KLMN to DUVW. In order to find factor a, we have to choose one corresponding pair between KLMN with DUVW. So let's choose n and w. So this is factor a. Factor a or factor nw is 3 units to the right and 4 units downward. That means factor a equal to 3 negative 4. So the magnitude of a equal to square root of 3 square plus square root of negative 4 square. So factor a equal to square root of 25 equal to 5. Next, in the diagram, ABCE is a rectangle. Express DE plus CB plus AB as a single factor. Since ABCE is a rectangle, that means AB has the same magnitude with EC, and also BC has the same magnitude of AE. So we can express DE plus CB plus AB equal to DE plus EA plus AB, because CB is equal to EA. This is factor CB from C to B. This is factor EA from E to A. Since they have the same magnitude and the same directions, so CB equals to EA. So from here, we know the terminal point of the first factor meets the initial point of the second factor, and the terminal point at the second factor meets the initial point of the third factor. We can express these three factors as a single factor, which is factor DB from D to B. Next, find factor A if 2A plus factor negative 3, 8 equal to factor 11, 2. So we can rewrite this equation as 2A equal to factor 11, 2 minus factor negative 3, 8. You move this factor to this side, it becomes negative. So 2a equal to factor 14 and negative 6. So we're going to find factor a. Factor a is a half of 14 and negative 6. So factor a equal to 7 and negative 3. Given that a is a point 4, negative 2, and b is the point negative 1 and 5, express AB as a factor column. So AB equal to OB minus OA. Factor AB can define as position factor of OB minus position factor of OA. So AB equal to negative 1, 5 minus 4, negative 2. So AB equal to negative 5 and 7. How about this question? 2 points A and B have position factor OA and OB respectively relative to the origin O. Given that factor position OB equal -3 and 2 and factor AB equal to 4 and 4. Find factor OA. We know that factor AB equal to OB minus OA. So in factor OA equal to factor OB minus factor AB. You move OA to this side, it becomes positive. You move AB to this side, it becomes negative. So factor OA equal to -3, 2, minus 4, and 4. This is factor OB, this is factor AB. So factor OA equal to -7 and 2. Okay, next question. In the diagram, A, B, C, D and R, B, P, C are parallelogram. R is the midpoint of AB and Q is the midpoint of DC. And also C is the midpoint of QP. Since R is the midpoint, that means AR equal to RB. So since Q is the midpoint, that means DQ equal to CQ. And C is the midpoint, that means QC equal to CP. So RBPC is a parallelogram, that means this side RB equal to this side CP. So AR, RB, DQ, QC and CP, they are have the same magnitude. Okay, now express AR plus CP plus CR as a single factor. So AR plus CP plus CR. We can write AR, we can substitute AR with QC because AR equal to QC. They have the same magnitude as I told you before and they have the same direction, AR and QC. So it becomes QC plus CP plus CR. Next, we can write it as QC plus CP plus PB. Substitute CR with PB because CR equal to PB. Why? Because RBPC is a parallelogram. That means this side has the same length of or magnitude in this side. So CR equal to PB. They have the same magnitude and the same direction. As you can see here, the terminal point of the first factors meet the initial point of the second factor. The terminal point of the second factor meets the initial point of the third factor. So these three factors can be written as a single factor, which is factor QB. Next, in the diagram, OAQB is a parallelogram. This is OAQB. P is the midpoint of AQ. This is P, the midpoint of AQ. R is the midpoint of QB. This is R, midpoint of QB. S is the midpoint of OP, from O to P. And then T is the midpoint of OR. Let factor OA equal to factor A and factor OB equal to factor B. Express factor ST as simple as possible in the term of A and or B. Okay, now we are going to express in factor ST. See factor ST as a factor resultant. Factor ST is a factor resultant of SO plus OT. So ST equal to SO plus OT. Now, SO is a half of factor PO because S is the midpoint. So you can see here. And factor OT is a half of factor OR because T is the midpoint of OR. So ST equal to a half of PO plus a half of OR. Now, you can C factor PO. C factor PO as a factor sultan. Factor PO is a factor sultan of factor PA plus factor AO. So substitute PO with PA plus AO. And then C factor OR as a factor sultan. Factor OR is a factor sultan of factor OB plus factor BR. So we substitute OR with OB plus BR. C factor PA. This is factor PA. Factor PA is a half of factor QA. Okay, so QA is negative of factor B because B is OB. Now this is QA. QA is BO. So factor PA is a half of QA, is a half of BO, is a half of negative B because they have the opposite direction. So PA equal to a half of B. Now factor AO. Factor AO is negative of factor A because factor A is OA. Now factor OB. Factor OB equal to factor B is given here. And then factor BR, this is factor BR. Factor BR is a half of factor BQ. Factor BQ is equal to factor OA. That means a half of BQ equal to a half of OA, a half of A. Now you multiply a half to all of this. A half times negative a half of B equal to negative a quarter of B. A half multiplied with negative A equal to negative a half of A plus a half multiplied with B is a half of B plus a half multiplied with a half of A equal to a quarter of A. Now operate B with B and A with A. So find that factor ST equal to a quarter of B minus a quarter of A.